Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And we have a very special guest here today, someone who has participated in both our Dream Builder program and our social media management certification. And she is now not only a mother of two, which was one of the parts of her vision when she came into the vision workshop, but she is also running her own business. And that meant that she said no to an employed opportunity in order to lean into starting our own business. I think there's a lot in Nicola's story that you're going to relate to if you're someone that wants to expand your family or who wants to build a business around your family. And so therefore, I'm really grateful that you're listening to this. And Nicola, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to tell your story.
Thank you so much for having me, Joy. I'm really excited to be here this morning.
And we're trying something new. We're filming this vertically and it's going on to Instagram Live. We've never had that before where we've been able to stream live onto Instagram. So lots of new features coming with the new year. And we will be moving our live podcast. For those who enjoy the live podcasts, we will be moving them to Mondays. So this is our final Tuesday live podcast. And from now on, they'll be on Monday mornings. So look out for the updates on our socials for that. So Nicola, we've had a journey together. You came in initially to do the social media management certification program, and then you came on to Vision Workshop and did the Dream Builder program, and you've really had some amazing shifts happen in your life. Why don't we start with where you were before you started the social media management certification? What were you looking to accomplish? What were you looking to achieve?
Yeah, so when I first discovered TechPixies, I was in a job where I'd kind of taken over the social media for the company, and I knew it. There was some areas of it that I was kind of just guessing and stuff like that. So yeah, I came across an advert on Facebook and did the boot camp that you do, and really loved your energy and kind of how there was the mindset side to it, not just the social media. Because I think, well, so I joined the course, and as I started doing it, I realized that actually the job I was in, I was kind of being taken advantage of a bit for what I was being asked to do for what I was being paid. And so I think I had a hot seat with you quite early on, and we made the decision that I was going to leave the job, which I did. And then it was really, that's when I started kind of leaning into this what would I love idea, because I hadn't really thought about that before. Like I'd kind of before I had my eldest son, I was a children's book designer in London, and not gave that up, but just made the decision when it came to going back after maternity leave that kind of the London commuting life didn't really work with a new baby. And so I then started just kind of getting any job locally that my skill set fitted, and I didn't really stop and think about what I actually wanted to do.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, particularly women, because you want a flexible job that works around your family, and so you'll sort of take whatever's on offer because there's not a lot on offer in that sense. And so that's a common problem a lot of women face.
Yeah, definitely. And it was like looking at the skills that I had, like I didn't actually appreciate the range of skills that I had and what I could then do with them. So yeah, I did my social media certification, got my CPDs, and actually went for a job as a digital marketing assistant, because I now felt more confident in the skills that I had. I kind of started my own business at the same time, but quickly realized that to be able to like get things like help with nursery fees and things like that to get the allocated hours, at that particular time, I think it was another call with you, and you said, what do you need at this time? Like, there's the vision in the future, but there's also like, well, what can you do right now to get you where you need to go, and then work on the vision at the same time. And that's when I was like, well, really, I need another job now, so that I've got that regular money coming in, and then I can work on everything else later, because we were trying for another baby at the time. So yeah, then I got a job as a digital marketing assistant, and then I think it was another like 6 months later of still trying for a baby and nothing was happening. Unfortunately we had a miscarriage in that time, and I think I came along to the very first vision workshop that you did, and I think I went a bit to pieces because I couldn't see past the vision of having another baby, and that wasn't something I could plan. And I was really stuck with, well, how do I go get the life that I love when the thing that I really want, I can't plan for you. You can't put steps in place to make that happen. It either does or it doesn't. And we had another call, I think, and you was getting me to think, well, what could you do for other parts of your vision, like not focusing on that part, the wider, you know, we looked at even further ahead, I think, because I was getting blocked with just doing like a year or whatever it was at the time. And it was like,
Yeah,
well,
what I remember from that conversation was it was like, well, like you didn't want to go all in on the job because then if you got pregnant, then you'd
yeah,
have to, it was like you were planning, it was like you were planning for something to happen, but then it may or may not happen, and but the planning was happening, and I could tell that there was, and I think this happens a lot, you're holding space for something you would love, and you're putting off making decisions that would serve you right now
mm,
because of this future possibility, and it can be a frustrating loop to be in because you know what you want, and then but it's not necessarily immediate, and I think that was the thing. It was like even if you got pregnant tomorrow, it'd be 9 months
yeah,
before there's a baby here. So actually, if you just focus on, like you said, the rest of the vision that you want to start working on, so you're not putting that on hold, then let's see what happens. And so how did that impact you, being able to focus
so
on the
we
other parts?
yeah, we had that session, I think it was in the November, and I really felt over Christmas that I had a shift, and I did start putting like taking, like, I think you said about one action every day towards your dream. And so but focusing on the other areas of the dream, and I did start doing that and kind of take the emphasis off the baby part, because like you said, I'd focused on what, like, the immediacy of getting pregnant, and it's like, well, actually the baby doesn't come for another 9 months, so, and you can still do a lot of things in that time.
Yeah.
And then it was the end of the January I actually found out I was pregnant. And we'd gone from like really obsessing over it, tracking everything, to kind of being like, well, I'm now focusing on this. Uh, we'll like see what happens in the next couple of months, and then we'll start looking into it again. And then we ended up falling pregnant in that time anyway.
Really, what you're talking about is letting go. You've got this vision. There, and one thing that's really important about your vision is you really felt, I mean, I remember having this conversation with you, and you really felt that this was part of the plan, like that you really were supposed to have the second child. Like that was something that you were very clear on. And so almost it was sort of like, okay, let's create some images. So we created 3 images, the scaffolding images. One was a baby shower, one was the 2 kids playing on a carpet, and then the other one was going to Disneyland.
Mm,
um, so we create these 3 images, and it's almost like you plant those images in your head. You say, okay, I'm going to focus on other parts of my vision. And then you let it go, and you be grateful for the things that you've got going on in your life. And then, like you said, suddenly it's like, whoa, well, here we go. Now all the things that we wanted to have happen are happening. So how about those 3 scaffolding images? Were those important as part of your ability to visualize, just holding in the back of your mind that these things are going to happen?
yeah, I think that was a really big change, is visualizing it happening but not putting a timestamp on it. Like them playing together, like, yeah, I always had this vision that there was more than one child there, that my older one was playing with another child, but I didn't have to have that kind of timestamp on it of when that was going to happen. it was just more important to visualize that at some point it was going to happen. And then the Disney thing, what was really funny is actually we ended up going to Disney while I was pregnant. So it was kind of like we decided to book it. It was one of the things we booked before we found out we was pregnant, because we decided, well, why are we waiting to go till we had, you know, everything else set up? If we really want to go, we should just go anyway. So that was one of the things we literally booked like straight after Christmas in the new year, because we were like, well, we know if the baby doesn't happen, let's still go to Disney anyway, because we really wanted to go before the elder one started school and all that kind of stuff. And then I ended up going there pregnant.
That's so
It's
funny.
really funny.
That's and it's very cool. So all right. So you've got the second child that you visualized, you saw, you know, it was part of what you wanted to create, but at the same time you didn't hold on to it too tightly. You created these visions, you sort of let it go and focused on the other things that you do what you can with what you have, with where you're at, something that we say a lot. And so you find yourself now, so now you've actually got paid employment as well, so steady income, and then that also helped with maternity leave.
Mm-hmm.
Then as so you've also got these amazing skills from the social media management certification, plus all these other skills that you've picked up over time as well. And you really positioned yourself, correct me if I'm wrong, almost as like an online business manager. You can set up funnels, you can organize emails, you can manage social media. There's like lots of aspects of a business that you can now manage.
Yeah. So, and I think that was one of the things. It's like, once I had that first part of the vision kind of working on, it was then looking at the kind of other areas, because when you do your vision workshop, you break it down into those 4 different areas of love and relationships. So obviously that was the family and the other children, and then the kind of career side of it, and the you side of it, which I'm still working on that side. But yeah, so it was like kind of like now that I've had kind of one part of the vision in motion, what do I do working on the others, and what can I do with that? And it was really, like you said, pulling all of my skills together. What do I enjoy doing, first off as well, because there's lots of things that I've got skills in that I've developed over the years, but what of that do I actually really enjoy helping others with and teaching others to do? And what are people looking for as well? What is the demand out there? Like what things are people getting stuck with? And that's really where I kind of specialized into Pinterest, because that was one of the things, one of the platforms that I picked when I was doing my social media management certification. I really, really enjoyed being on, because it's, you know, there's the visual and the kind of side of it, and also with the keywords, there's the more kind of practical analytical side of it, which I seem to have both sides of. So Pinterest is a good fit for both of those. And then, like you said, the kind of like tech side of setting up email marketing and things like that. So that's kind of where I landed on this kind of Pinterest specialist and tech VA route. So that because also I found as well with Pinterest, a lot of people really like the idea of using the platform, but then it's like, well, what do you do with the people when you've got them to where you want them to go? Like, it's all very well getting more people to a web page, but what are you going to do with them when they're there? Like, have you got an email list to get them onto, and stuff like that? And now that I'm in progression, that's a lot of the kind of the next level stuff. Once you've got your, you know, your social media up and running and things like that, that we kind of look at in that program, and that's where I realized a lot of the techie stuff that I do kind of pick up quite easily, and able to break down for others.
Yeah, you've got that skill, which I think is so important. And that's in progression is our membership. So once someone has finished our certification and they want to continue their learning, we have workshops every month that help them to do that, as well as neuro coaching calls, as well as quarterly planning calls, you know, to help you plan your quarter. Now, interestingly enough, what's been fun about watching your journey is there was a part of you that wanted to set this business up, and you know, you knew that there was another part of you that wanted steady income, And it was sort of like, okay, how do we do both of these things? How do we set up a business and create steady income? So, you have all these tools from Dream Builder, from social media management certification, all of the mindset shifts. What was the most powerful thing you leaned into when you were really saying, okay, I'm going to let go of employment and lean into my own business? Because there was a period of time where it didn't feel like, what we call it the messy middle. You don't know how it's going to work out, but the how is known. And there was a period of time where it felt like, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? And then it worked. So what were the mental shifts you had to make to get to that point?
One first was like believing in my abilities was a real big thing, that like I can help people, and I do have the skills to be able to do that. And then the second thing was, I think it's one of the exercises that you do, where you write down like all the different ways that you could make money.
Yeah.
And like you can ask other people to help you with that, and it's like literally looking at what are all the things that I could do. And I started networking. It was one of the big things that I started doing last year. And I realized that there's one of the options is to be an associate for other people, so other VAs out there that
And
you
so
know
so you put onto your, just so we're clear, so it's the Brave Thinking Activation Tool, which I'm certified to do, and we run through it in the Money Mindset Masterclass, and we do it in other programs as well. But it's the idea that you come up with 20 different ways that you can make money. And if you do it with someone else, that helps to give you a boost in terms of ideas. You don't discount any ideas, you take all the ideas on board. And interestingly enough, what you did was, one of the 20 ways that you thought, well, I can make money is if I start networking. And then in the networking, that's when you found out about this associate opportunity.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it
And
was
that's a key part of this, because you come up with 20 ideas and then you say, okay, which 5 do I totally love and would I want to explore? And then you pick your top 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then you schedule them on your calendar within 24 hours. And it's in going and doing that action step that it opens up the next piece of the puzzle. It's almost like you got to take the action step to then get presented with the next piece of the puzzle. And then you move on that. So here you are at this networking event, you find out about the associate opportunities, and then what happened?
yeah, so I actually, what happened was, so the networking, and then I think another one of the ideas was to do kind of present like workshops and stuff in other people's memberships. And I actually combined the two, and I did a presentation at a networking event. And it was from that actually another VA got in contact with me and said, are you interested in associate work? I think I've got some clients that could benefit, because like wasn't techie. And yeah, from there I've taken on a couple of clients with her, which has then almost given me the kind of that steady income from that point of view. So then I haven't got so much pressure
So you've
to,
got residual income, recurring
yeah,
income from a couple of these clients that are connected to her. That is just brilliant.
and then I can focus, because I think I was just getting overwhelmed with, I had a figure in my head that I wanted to earn, and it was like, well, how do I, like when you were starting at 0, trying to get to that number, it was like, oh my God, like how am I ever going to get to that? But then now I've got this kind of, like you said, security, regular income coming in. The amount that then I need to do myself is that much less. So
Yeah.
it just feels a lot more manageable.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and that's a wonderful gift. I mean, we have that at TechPixies. We've got people who've been members like you for several years, and it's those memberships that create the residual income that underlines the business. And so then you can do launches and offers and those things. You can launch a new product, you can run a workshop. That's extra money on top of that residual income, and then that helps you to grow and to do other things, or to give yourself a higher salary if you're a solopreneur. So those are so I love that idea, but I also love that, again, you leaned into, okay, I'm going to do the networking thing because that's on my top 3 out of these 20 ideas. And then you lean into that and you get invited to give a talk. And then from there, you get invited to do this work. And so it just goes to show that, you don't need to know the how, but the how is known. And one of the things that I think is really important is we don't want to ask the how questions. If we ask the how question, we get overwhelmed. Like, how am I ever going to come up with this income? It's not very helpful. It's, so we want to be leaning into questions. And you did, who do I need to speak to? What do I need to say? Who do I need to be? What kind of a person would be able to attract a client that pays 5,000 a month or 10,000 a month or 1,000 a month? It's really, we ask ourselves those questions. And one of the other things I think is really important for people to hear, you have a number, and that number is in your head, what it is, it's written down. And I think it's very important. I say to women all the time, you do need to have a number, whether it's an annual number or a monthly number or a quarterly number, but you want to have a number that's expansive and that, you say, well, what would I need to do? Who do I need to be? How would I need to show up? And when you have a number in mind, then you've got a barometer to work with. Whereas when it's sort of like, when I first started in business, I was like, well, I don't want to limit what God can do. And I mean, I still very much believe in the spiritual side of things, and, that everything is working in our favor and all of that. But I think what I realized was, the universe likes clarity. So when you can give the universe clarity and then let go, this is what I would love, and then I'm going to let go of it. And then, sit in gratitude on everything that's happening in your life. Suddenly these things that you wanted to have happen start happening. And when we get out of touch with gratitude, or when we get out of touch with, we get into the, like, I have to make this happen, and the push energy, that's when it sort of goes away from us. So it's this fine balance between holding space for what you would love and taking action steps every day, like you said. So that's really cool. And so now you were able to confidently say to the company that you were working with that you're not available anymore as an employee. Is that right?
Yeah, so I made that decision when the kind of maternity leave came to an end. This was before the associate work and stuff kind of materialized, but I had already started doing the networking.
But that's important. You make the decision in advance of knowing how it's going to work out. A lot of
Yeah.
people think, oh, well, maybe once I'm making the money, I'll, that's a good time to quit or whatever. So, but I think what is interesting about what you just said is that you made the decision before it all worked out.
It was kind of more that as well, that I was never going to have the opportunity to grow my own business because working within school hours and school within the kind of school holidays and stuff like that, because I need to be able to take care of the boys during the school holidays and things. I just didn't have enough hours. I didn't have enough hours to do both.
Yeah.
And it was like, what offers me, it's kind of like a year ago or 2 years ago, when kind of we had the discussion and I did the work then of what do I need that serves me right now. The employed job was it, because
Yeah.
I needed that regular income to be able to get the childcare hours, to know that, also to keep the older one in a routine and all that kind of stuff. Like, it really helped. But now that there's two, and there's this different age gap, they've got different needs. Um, Having the kind of set hours, it just doesn't work for me. If one of them gets ill and then they can't go to nursery or can't go to school or something like that, like, I need to be able to have that complete flexibility, that I can just then stop working that day and work again another day. So that's why I kind of made the decision that to leave the employment and go in on my business, and then have the kind of belief that it would work out if I kept moving forward, and finding, using those different ideas of how I could make it work itself out. And
Well,
it's still work in progress, definitely. I mean, it's still very early days, like, it's only been a couple of months.
but
Sorry.
you've got evidence though that
Mm.
holding that belief, taking action, holding that belief, taking action, holding that belief, taking action. You've got evidence over time that then creates a quiet confidence,
Yeah,
right?
and
Where
it's the belief that what I've done is the right move,
yeah.
um, and that, as like you said, as long as I keep taking action, things will start happening. It may not be in the way that I imagined it to happen, which it often isn't, but that, yeah, taking taking the regular action and keep moving things forward in all areas will, and keeping hold of the vision and why I'm doing this, what is often get what is your why? Why are you working towards this kind of goal? And for me, it is that I can ha- be doing something that I enjoy doing to start with. That's the first kind of why. That I can have a way of working and bringing in an income that is totally flexible around my two boys, and that I can. And then the thirdly is that I can bring in an income so that I can do I can contribute to the family, expenses, and I can also do the things that I wanna do as well, have my own income.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and that's a big part of what we do at Tech Pixies is help women become financially independent because so many women are dependent on a spouse or dependent on the government or dependent on on parents even. So there's it's a very common thing that I see happen for women and until you do the work to make the shifts mentally but also pick up the skill sets, it can be challenging to create that financial independence. And you're a really good example of someone who has made those mindset shifts, has picked up those technical skills, and has leaned into creating. And like you said, you had three very clear goals and visions for what you want, how you wanted things to work, and leaning into that. So I'm so grateful that you were willing to share your story because I think it's an important story that people need to hear what it feels like coming out the other side. And like you said, you're still a work in progress. You know,
Yeah.
we talk all the time about a 3-year vision. You're really only like 2 years into this for initial 3-year vision.
Yeah.
Um, and what's fun about the fact that you were on the very first vision workshop we ran, that was really the start of my journey as well for building a whole new side of Tech Pixies, which was the life coaching side, which is now almost equal in terms of weight in our company. We have the social media program, we have the life coaching program, and we have the business program. And the two programs, the life coaching and the social media coaching programs together are sort of the foundations for the business program. And we're seeing great success when we combine those two. And there's, one's very technical and one's almost very spiritual, or it's a much more kind of connect to your vision, take action steps towards your vision, less technical in terms of like, click here and, hit play here and all that stuff. So I mean, looking back on it, was when you came into the program, we didn't even have the life coaching program.
Mm.
It sounds like, I mean, even from this conversation, that between the two programs, that one really had a major impact on the full spectrum of health and wealth for you in terms of, not just having the skills, but being able to craft a vision to use those skills to create it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I came into Tech Pixies because of the social media management, and then I think I stayed because of the life coaching and the dream building and stuff like that. Like, there was the life coaching as part of the social media, um, that went through more things like, dealing with negative feedback, I think was one, and um, setting goals and stuff like that. There's different types of kind of life coaching that goes along with the actual social media. But then, yeah, going further into that with the vision, um, and I think rather than it being the where I was holding back was when I was doing other stuff before, and it was like, where do you see yourself at the end of, the quarter or the end of the year? And it's like, sometimes it's just not possible to do the things in that shorter time scale. Whereas if you kind of allow yourself that 3-5 years to think, because then you can't picture it as kind of, I think with me, I couldn't then picture what my kids would look like at that age, because I've never known them that old. So I couldn't. Whereas in a year's time, you can kind of got an idea of what, well, especially the older one, I kind of got an idea of what he might look like in a year's time. So then if it wasn't going in that way, it was kind of easier to get disheartened by it. Whereas with that 3-5 years, I didn't know what that was going to look like. I just had to keep thinking, well, if I do this, then it's getting me closer to that. I just don't quite know how that end part is going to look like yet.
Yeah, and a big part of it is the feeling tone is just as powerful as the visual side. And you need both, so you when you're thinking about this vision 3 years from now, there's a feeling tone that comes with it. And even like you said, if you can't describe someone's face exactly, you know what it feels like to have, a child that's maybe a little bit older, or, and it was interesting because I was thinking about this today on my dog walk. I was thinking about the feeling tone because I was listening to I do additional coaching, and I was listening to one of the coaching calls, and someone called in and said, well, like, what if I don't have any feeling tone? Like, what if I've got this, this is like, I'm so happy and grateful now that these things are happening, but I don't have any feeling tone. Like, what if I'm just very, there's no feeling to it. And being able to generate the feeling is really important because, and even if you don't, like I was thinking, well, what if you don't know what it feels like? What if you have a vision and you've never achieved it? So you don't actually know what that feels like. And I think two things. One is, what do you think it's going to feel like? Right? Like, it's probably going to feel a lot different than it feels right now. Right? So, if you're stressed right now, then the vision is you feel relieved, or, so it's leaning into what you think it's going to feel like. Right? That's a higher feeling than the current feeling. Meaning, if you're feeling stressed, it's a low feeling. And if you're feeling relieved, it's a higher feeling. If you're feeling relaxed, that's probably even higher than relieved, right? There's probably levels in terms of stress, relax, relief, or, stress, relieved, relaxed. But it's that idea that that there is a feeling tone that you can generate, even if you don't know what it feels like to have a second child, or you don't know what it feels like to run your own business successfully. So leaning into what you can feel on that. And then the other thing that that was sort of my interpretation, but the other thing that she was saying, this coach that I was listening to, she was saying, can you evoke a memory in your past where you really, like, you remember something really special, and so you can remember a feeling that evoked emotion. And for this particular person, it was that she'd been in a field with horses, and she just went running with the horses and could feel the wind, and on her face and on her hair. And that's so even if so even if we have a hard time feeling what it feels like, there's times in our life where we have felt something really special, and we can tap into that. So I think what you just brought up is really important. Even if you can't visualize everything about what it is you want to create, you can feel it, and you can generate that feeling. And even if you've never been there before, you can generate the feeling of what you think it's going to feel like. And that's where we hang out. And in the Henry David Thoreau quote, which is when we spend a lot of time on that quote in Dream Builder, towards the end, he says, you start to live with a license of a higher order of being. And to me, that's a really special sentence, because until you feel what that feels like, it's hard to, well, hard is the wrong word, but once you feel what it feels like to live with the license of a higher order of being, it's like it clicks, and you go, oh, now I get what it feels like to live day by day without worry, day by day without stress, day by day without all of these things that we commonly, associate with life when we're not paying attention to our thoughts and trying to shift them and change them. So I think as we wrap up, what for you, when you think, what was the key feeling that you leaned into in terms of your vision, and how were you able to generate that feeling?
Yeah, so the main thing I felt whenever I got these images, it was just of the kind of the togetherness and the happiness of all being together, not necessarily doing anything. You know, obviously the Disneyland thing is a big thing, but just the playing together. It was just that kind of like togetherness of love and just being in that moment as a family, whatever shape that family ended up being. And yeah, every time just when I thought about it, I just would get kind of calm, I guess, knowing that it didn't have we just needed to just being together is enough of what I was looking what what I'm looking for was to feel like we were a whole family.
Thank you for sharing that. Nicola, where can people find you? If, for example, if they need a tech VA, because you are available, you've got your services available.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of questions from people about tech VAs. You know, I don't know how to do all this stuff, and I don't want to do all this stuff, but I want to hire someone that can do all this stuff. So where can people find you if they want to hire you for Pinterest or for tech VA work?
Yeah, so my handle across all platforms, so Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, is NW Design and Digital, and I've also got a website, www.nwdesigndigital.co.uk. You can find out more about the different services that I do, but yeah, mainly concentrating on Pinterest strategy and management, and tech VA. So at the moment, I'm doing a lot to do with the changes coming to email marketing, and there's a lot happening with needing to authenticate domains and stuff like that, and have your own professional email address. So I'm getting a lot of inquiries about that at the moment, and helping people get that all sorted so they can keep getting their emails into people's inboxes.
Oh, brilliant. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. And, of course, you're a perfect example of someone who stays in the work, and you've continued to stay in the program and to benefit from that and to grow. And I'm really grateful for your continued membership, but also for you leaning into your dream and your vision, and really being able to come from that vision and create it. And you've got a really beautiful, wonderful future ahead of you. So I look forward to interviewing you in the future about the next phase of the business. And I do hope, if you are looking for a tech VA, you reach out to Nicola. She's very well known within our community as being someone who does a great job and delivers a great service. So thanks again, Nicola. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me.